Hello, welcome back to yet another entry into my Legendary Licks series. And it seems these titles are getting even more interesting every time I do a new video, and it's thanks to you that I'm able to come up with these great titles nowadays because you seemingly have an endless supply of suggestions. So make sure to leave some more suggestions on what the next title of the next Legendary Licks video should be. And it'll be interesting to see if you can guess what this particular video is all about. Legendary licks you think are legendary, but aren't. And these were legendary licks that you submitted on Twitter that I drew from, so there you go. Personally, I have a couple interpretations of this particular subject, and I'll let you know what those are so you can know what to expect moving forward. These are legendary guitar licks that may be legendary to me or to a certain niche in the guitar community, but overall, they're not legendary like Eruption or Cliffs of Dover or Sweet Child of Mine. They're not in that status quo, although one may say they should be. Up first we have possibly the most requested song that I'm asked to play. We want Blackbird by Alter Bridge. So this is Blackbird by Alter Bridge, and I sort of think of this as like the modern day Nothing Else Matters intro. It just seems that way. That's my perception based on feedback from when I do live videos, for example, and people are making song requests. This one is always at the top of the list. So breaking this down will be actually pretty easy for me because I feel like I got a first-hand lesson from Mark Tremonti on this exact riff writing style when I met him at the NAMM show a couple of years ago.
When I do clinics, I teach people like a simple 6/8 thing. I'll just tuck my pick between my second finger, take my thumb and first finger, and just do a 6/8 pattern. You know, I just like to
It was really interesting for me to learn this riff for the first time because I was like, oh wait, that's exactly what he was talking about. He must have written this song using the exact mindset that he outlined, which is essentially using a droning bass note and a specific Tremonti-esque finger style to compose melodies and also have rhythmic chord type stuff happening at the same time simultaneously to sort of accompany himself. And so with that, let's get into first the harmony, and then I'll break down the finger style. It's a very ominous sound. And first of all, I am tuned down a half step, and that's what the song is in. So here's a G chord. In the first shape here, we have 3 on the E string, G string, and B strings. And then we'll move down, pushing that 3rd fret to the 2nd fret on the G string, and then open G string with those other 2 fingers staying where they are. Then we'll move down. You can think of it like an open D shape with your finger on the 2nd fret of the E string. And then we're going to move down again. And this D string can be ringing throughout. We have the 2nd fret of the G string with the 1st fret of the E string. Making sort of a power chord shape, although there is 2 strings open between those. And that little movement. Up here to a B flat power chord with a couple open strings. And then this little stretch here. 7th fret of the D string with the open G. So now moving into the finger style, this is really something you got to listen to. I'm not going to necessarily show you exactly what he's doing because that'll just take the entire lesson. But think about it like this, and this is a testament back to what Mark was talking to me about in the little lesson that he gave me. It's really like a 3/4 or maybe 6/8, depending on how you count it, groove, where it's like ba ba-da, ba-da, ba-da. And really the ominousness is displayed through this rhythm. So that's what I would practice first. Before you try and get into all the intricacies and nuance of this riff, first work on that. Really the one nuance I'll show you here is when he goes down to this F shape. This is probably the hardest part, where it goes. That would be probably the riff that I would practice. If you can play that, you can play any other shape of this. And, you know, figure it out with your ear. This is a helpful one to figure out by ear because the melody is pretty simple and straight ahead. So watch my fingers, figure it out using your eyes and ears. You can go to a tab site if you want to, but I would recommend picking this one up by ear. The next legendary lick you think is legendary, but it isn't, is by a band called Cake. And the song is Let Me Go. Cake is one of those bands that really influenced me at a young age. I had all their albums, and it was before I played guitar, so I just really liked their music. I wasn't really paying attention to any one instrument, and it now dawns on me years later that this guitar playing on Prolonging the Magic or Comfort Eagle, the guitar playing on those albums really influenced me and made me probably fall in love with the guitar without me even knowing it. So this lick is definitely one that you're gonna wanna pick up, and I think it's really legendary. It's really recognizable, and as you can see, I have my T-style guitar here. You're gonna wanna pick this one closer to the bridge, and I have a compressor on as well. So that is the spank and the twang that you're gonna want to really pull this lick off effectively. It's an open A major kind of sound. And you can think of it as a major pentatonic. And really we're just going right down that A major sound. So we're starting on the root A, major 7th. And here's the one kind of tricky part, because this is kind of a stretch. And you'll see I'll alternate depending on how kind of warmed up or dexterous I'm feeling between my ring finger and pinky. But you'll probably want to use your pinky here because you're going to have to come back to that first fret of the G string. So these are all pull-offs. So I would just break that into two pieces. That's what I'd do. Piece 1, and then that's piece 2. So once you have that down, this is piece of cake. Get it? We have, so this is a D over F sharp. So just we have an open D here. We're hitting that F sharp first. Back to the riff. And then we have the 4th fret, the E string, 2nd fret, the D string, and then the bottom 2 open. If you really want to get twangy with it, you can put it on that bridge pickup. And there you have it. Moving on. Okay, now bear with me on this one. This is gonna sound kind of bad. The next legendary lick you think is legendary, but it's not, is probably more one that I think is legendary, but it's not, and it's because it's in a Luke Bryan song. Okay, I get it. Luke Bryan, pop country, it's like terrible, terrible, awful music. Actually, here's the thing, the music is fine. The music is actually really good, which is kind of what I'm getting at. The lyrics are god-awful, and I do not defend them. But pop country and country music in general, the one shining light in the just dreary darkness of awful cliche lyrics is the guitar playing. And this song is called Country Girl. You can imagine the depth of wisdom in these song lyrics, but the guitar solo in this song is truly awesome. There's a lot of things you can learn from it, from just the licks in general to how to compose an effective solo. Some of the best guitar players in the world are country guitar players in places like Nashville, and I think that they should be recognized. And well, I'm about to do that now. So for the first time ever, I am going to play a Luke Bryan song on my channel. This is the last time I ever see you guys. Well, it's been nice knowing you. The solo for Country Girl. I'm still here. All right, that must mean that my channel did not get shut down for playing that song. I think that you would agree with me. That's a pretty rad solo. Let's break it down and see what we find. Pretty much all of this is E minor pentatonic, so we start off with one of these. This is a great way to use the pentatonic scale. I think a lot of people get caught up in this. But we forget that we don't have to go down these boxes. You can actually slide up and down the ladder, as I would say, to get something like... So you can see how I'm climbing. And that's how I suggest a lot of people practice kind of mixing up their scales, is instead of going down them like this, you could go. And it just makes it a little bit more interesting, and as you can see, you're taking advantage of kind of rolling your finger, and that is what the beginning of this solo takes advantage of as well. And then there's the repetitive element to it, which builds a melody and makes a guitar solo memorable, kind of repeating itself and taking little bits and pieces of itself to form a memorable line. So he always ends with that, varying it slightly, with the first and third time being, and the second time being. So obviously really simple here, but the idea, I think, is what is important, what you should take away. Whatever guitar solo you write, just try something like that, where you repeat yourself and maybe vary a little line, but then go back to a lick that you enjoyed playing the first time or the second time or the third time, and see how it helps you develop your guitar solos. I think it could be really helpful for you. So after we hit that, we move down to just a classic kind of Stevie Ray Vaughan type thing. And he does something cool with the G string. He really gets animated. It's almost like he's making fun of the song that he's playing on. It's being like, I can't believe I'm playing on this song, but hey, I'm getting paid. I'm gonna rip an awesome solo. And I think this blues lick is one that has a lot of different nuances you can try. So this would be like the Hendrix way to play it. This would be the Stevie Ray Vaughan way to play it. Maybe use your middle finger instead. So you can hear there's a subtle difference there, and a lot of different guitar players will play that a certain way, but I tend to prefer the more articulated version, like the Stevie Ray Vaughan method. But you can really be fast with that bend, so. Now, moving on to the next part, we have this really cool thing that happens. And that's actually kind of a challenging move on the guitar. And it's really kind of making the guitar wail. I really like this lick. I never would have played this lick if I hadn't heard this song. So if you take nothing else, if you're in the E minor sound, you can get this thing going on. We're bending up from the 11th fret on the G string. And we're hitting the 10th fret of the E string and like really making it cry. Resolving to that E note. And then it comes up to this classic E minor pentatonic reposition. And then a super country thing to do here, these kind of double stops. And you can find this on the 15th fret, 12th fret, 10th fret, and 7th fret. Just a whole step bend on the B string. And then really staccato that note on the E string. And then the resolution. Pretty hard rock for a country song. And let's never speak of this again. This one is near and dear to my heart. It is, again, a very influential guitar moment in my life when I heard this song. It's called False Pretense by a band called Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. And I think it's a really formative guitar style for a lot of guitar players, whether or not they've heard this song. It was pretty present in early thousands rock and hard rock. And it's this idea of just perfectly sheen, pristine guitars, high gain, with accent notes that really add to an otherwise sort of traditional punk riff. So I think that exists in a lot of different music that influenced guitar players of my generation. And as a result, I think it belongs in legendary licks you think are legendary, but they're not, because it doesn't get the recognition it deserves. And again, I'm down-tuned a half step, but you can still play this song in standard tuning. Regardless, it's very simple, so you'll be able to pick it up pretty quick, but you won't be able to deny how awesome it sounds. So the rhythm part that's happening here is really tight, and it goes like this. That really pop punk style, I think, is really influential and a great thing to practice. Just practicing that. See how long you can play this. Put a metronome on, I bet you can't last more than a minute and a half. Now the legendary lick and that accent lick that I was talking about goes like this. Again, really fun to play. A testament to what I've heard from a lot of great guitar players when I ask them, how do you play guitar in a band, for example, or how do you write effective guitar parts? And it's really about serving the song, and that is the ultimate example of serving the song, because when you put that together with that riff that I started off with, you're gonna find this is really a legendary guitar moment. Last but not least on our list is a band that, much like Tenacious D, is highly underrated and overlooked by the guitar community, and that's a band called Ween. We're going to examine the solo to one of my favorite songs of all time, Voodoo Lady. are tiny little elements in here that I think can really transform your guitar playing if you apply them to whatever genre of music you play. First of all, that song sort of defined my middle school, high school era. That song was everywhere, and that solo in particular, again, was one that I heard before I was really into playing guitar, but Dean Ween, I think, may have been one of my first guitar heroes, and that's thanks a lot to my brother, who actually got a tattoo of the Boognish, which is Ween's logo, on his bicep. I think that was his first tattoo. And so it was already influential on me in that way, but this is definitely only one of many different guitar moments in Ween's catalog that you can check out and be amazed by. The simplicity and the melodic sense is really on display in this solo. And again, we're really pentatonic here. That would be the opening line here, and then followed up by. So some really cool 16th note triplets there. And then what happens here? The same exact melodic rhythm, which means the same rhythm as the initial melody, but we have. So the exact same phrase, however, in one note can always make such a big difference. So what are more legendary licks that you think are legendary, but they're not? Now maybe they are, at least a little bit more than they were before. Make sure to leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think. I hope you enjoyed this video. And until next time, keep shredding. I'm running out of picks.